When you wake up every morning with someone else's organs living in your body and keeping you alive, your days start to feel a little different. Hi, I'm Kate. I'm making this video for those of you who, maybe like me, are looking for ways to manage your thoughts and your emotions after going through a transplant. In my case, a double transplant. When I first woke up after surgery, I remember seeing my husband standing over me wearing a purple mask, and my mother was standing over me as well. I saw her second, and I remember the first words out of my mouth was, "I feel like I've been hit by a bus." The next moments were kind of jumbled together. In fact, the next several days, I don't have a lot of, at least not cohesive memory. People coming in and out of my room, asking me different questions. I remember I didn't know what time it was or whether it was day or night, but I do remember thinking, what have I done? What have I done to my body? And I also remember thinking, I can't change it. I can't go back. I'm already on this side of it. So I might as well go forward. I have to go forward. And I realized that thinking, even though, I was still on a lot of drugs and I don't even know what they were all giving me, I remember thinking that it was useless to ask the question, what have I done? So in a way, I told myself, just shut up and deal with it. Over the next several days, I remember the doctors coming in, talking to me about different medications. There was a lot of educational videos I had to watch, how to care for the new organs, how to avoid different things, what foods I could and could not eat anymore, all kinds of stuff. And of course, as doctors do, they started giving me the warnings, all the things that could happen, the what ifs, the risk of rejection, and all the things that, of course, stirred fear in my own mind. And I remember feeling that fear creep into my head. And I remember thinking, maybe not consciously thinking, as it started to creep into my head, those doctors' words, I'll always be grateful because of the words that God gave me. Seconds later, maybe less than a second later, I had this thought pop in my head that in the state of mind that I was could not have been mine. And he said, my ways are not their ways. And that brought me a lot of peace over the next few days as the pain as I became more aware of the pain, and as I felt how physically weak I was, I held on to those words every time a doctor came in to talk to me about the risks and the things that my life would now require of me. And I held on to those words and just repeated them. My ways are not their ways. And they have still been a mantra to me. All of this was less than 4 months ago. I'm home now, and I'm learning to I'm learning to live again, to live life, not fully myself, obviously. They said that could take a really long time. It's been an interesting journey because my mind has recovered faster than my body. which I'm grateful. It's, a lot less brain fog now, but my mind tells me to be productive, to get up. And I do, of course, but my body is still tired. It's still recovering, and I have to honor it. And I have to remind my mind that that's okay. And I have to tell it to stop demanding so much of me. I think this goes into a lot of things about life in general. This internal conversation that we have with ourselves. To me, I talk about it, this character in my head. And it followed me home. And when I got home, I was so grateful to be home. So grateful to be in my own bed, sitting on my own couch, surrounded by things that were mine, that made me comfortable. And that gratitude eventually turned to overwhelm, because as with all things, when you're home, there's the daily tasks that have to be done. There was laundry still to do. There was dishes still to be loaded in the dishwasher. Simple things like cooking. And of course I have help with these things. But when it's your home, there's ways you like things done. And after a while of not being able to do them myself, I wanted to do it myself because I wanted it to feel normal. I wanted things done the way I used to do them. So I became overwhelmed pretty quickly. And fears that I suppressed turned into fights with my husband. And we don't generally fight, pretty rarely. We had a few fights that led to conversations. And I turned to God. I had to turn to God to ask for understanding. And He did give me understanding. After about 3 days, I remember He told me basically to be quiet for 3 days and to not bring things up to my husband that I was thinking about or dealing with, the ways that I didn't think he was meeting my expectations, or because of the ways I lacked to meet my own expectations, and so I was relying on him to do it. And I got understanding, and I came to realize that my husband had fears of his own, and he was dealing with them in ways he knew how to deal with them, which is different than the way that I deal with my fears. And after some long conversations, both with God and with my husband, I had to choose to stay in gratitude, and I had to choose to trust. And even though, those fears, they don't go away, they didn't just stop because I chose. It just meant I had to put up a mental armor against fears that would continue to try to permeate my mind. One such fear was around food. I've had a lot of fear around food ever since I was diagnosed with end-stage kidney disease. The restrictions that are placed on you and that I placed on myself were very strict. But after surgery, I realized even though I could eat a lot more things than I used to, and I was encouraged to, I still had a lot of fear around eating, especially certain things. And I would have this anxiety every time I ate. So I turned to prayer and I asked God about it, and I brought it up to Him. And when He's done this to me before, it always seems to come in a way that you don't expect. It's not like I was reading the scriptures and stumbled upon it in the middle of a chapter I was reading. It came to me somewhere else. And the scripture is from Exodus. It says, "Ye shall serve the Lord your God, and He will bless thy bread and thy water, and I will take away sickness from the midst of thee." I had to look up of course, where that scripture was from. I didn't know at the time. And it had to do exactly with my prayer. And I don't even think it came the same day. It came maybe a day later that scripture was presented to me. And I know that it was a promise to me, because when I feel that fear again around food, I hear those words, I will bless thy food and thy water. And I trust it. I choose to trust it. And that's really the important thing. So, to those going through what I'm going through, who perhaps will be going through what I'm going through, and maybe to those of you who have already done so and are on the other side, this is, I guess, a simple reminder to place your eyes on God always, because I don't think it's possible to go through something like this without Him. I know I couldn't. It's important to speak to Him about your fears. He helps you identify what the fears are, and I think gives you understanding of all the emotions that are going through your head. And He then helps you deal with them. But always give Him a chance to answer you when you're praying about those fears. Give Him a chance to answer you. And don't expect it the same day. Sometimes it's not. I think sometimes we expect this miraculous answer to happen in the midst of prayer, but sometimes it doesn't. Sometimes I kneel down, getting to the point where I can kneel down by my bed again. But sometimes kneeling down and saying a heartfelt prayer said with tears. But sometimes for me, I just have to climb into bed, fall asleep after I make my fears known to God. But inevitably, whether it's a day or 2 or 3, maybe a week later, an answer is always given to that prayer. And I always feel it. And I remember my prayer. If you don't remember your prayers, maybe write them down. I do that too. Because when an answer does come, it will always relate to your prayer. So choose to trust Him. I do. And even though I'm less than 4 months and I have a long way to go, but I'll always remember the words He gave me when I was still in the hospital. My ways are not their ways, and that He has promised to take sickness away from the midst of me. So right now, no matter what those weekly blood tests show, I trust my God. I suggest you do too.